Welcome everyone again. I hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to another exciting Torah Watchman edition, this time number 80. Wow, yeah. If you like me, click like. Please subscribe. Please do all the post notifications so you'll be the first one to know when I post a new video. Like this one is going to go on live very soon. The topic for this Torah Watchman study is about the Jewish people. Yehudim versus Jews. Are they different? Are they the same thing? What does it mean to be Jewish in the 21st century? What about those Israelites we hear about in your Old Testament or in the Torah, in the Jewish Bible, that they were referred to as Hebrews? I think Pharaoh referred to those Hebrew slaves and all of this, and the book of Shamash, Exodus, we did stories on this. So you don't hear about Jews that say, I'm a Hebrew. My race is Hebrew. You don't hear about that too much. Now, this is where I'm getting at. That's been a lot. You can know the history of the Jewish people. It's horrific. It's a miracle of God that we are. I think we're up to. Let's see. We're about 14.4 million worldwide, and that's down from a total of 16.7 million before the Holocaust. Now, remember the keyword Holocaust, because it was a game changer, folks. It was a game changer for definitions of words and terms and what people were willing to be identified with. What am I talking about? Hey, the Nazi SS soldiers, even if they did not know for sure you were Jewish, they would measure your nose. And if you did not look like the white Aryan race, or if they found out you had a grandparent that was Jewish, you're gone. And that's pretty much how they made the determination. They didn't have DNA tests back then. I've had several DNA tests looking for these Semitic gene clusters across many of my chromosomes. We have 23 chromosomes. I'll get into genetics right now. But anyway, Yehudim and Jewish and Jews are operatively the same thing, except there's no J in Hebrew language. So why does everyone go by Jews this, Jews that, Jewish commandant, Jewish scientist, Jewish prime minister, Jewish diaspora? We talk. Why don't we say Yehudim? Why don't we say Yehudit for a Jewish woman? Or Yehudi for a man? Why don't we say that? Why don't we say Yishuv for Hebrew? Well, because we are governed, really embedded very deep in the English language. Just as much as Greek and later Latin ruled the planet, the English language pretty much is based on that Latin root, and it rules the planet. All the currency, the greenback, it governs everything in the world economy. Not germane. Before the 1940s, Jews in Europe, if you ask them out of 10 people sampled, what is your race? And if they didn't think you were after them with a gun or something, they would probably say they were Hebrew. Their race is Hebrew. In fact, there were passports and documentation that said their race and nationality was Hebrew. My wife used to work in a passport office, and she's seen some of the things. She told me the stories. So before 1940s, if we were in Eretz Israel, before it became independent, Israel, so-called Palestine or whatever, Hadrian's Curse and all that, if we lived there, we were referred by the Arabs as Palestinians, but in inner Jewish circles, we were referred to as Hebrews. And that was a very proud thing. And it's a shame that we don't identify ourselves anymore as a race of Hebrews, as our nationality of Yehudim, and don't use these words proudly, anymore. What are we afraid of in the 21st century? What are you afraid of? I know what happened in the Holocaust in 1940, 1941, 1942, 1943, 44. I know what happened with the 6 million. I know why Jews, and especially the Holocaust survivors and their children, why they don't like the word race, or Hebrew, that kind of thing, because it brings back those bad connotations. However, we want to be precise, and I'm the inconvenient truth here, as I'm pointing out, Jewish people are Yehudim, and their language is Hebrew. Yishuv. If you're in Japan, your language is Japanese, and you're a Japanese citizen that lives in Japan, the country. Why is it so difficult? We say Israelite and Israel, but they are Hebrews. Their language is Hebrew. The Hebrew is a national language of Jewish people in Eretz Israel, at least. And most observant Jews, most ethnically born Jews, speak Hebrew fluently. They learn it in yeshiva and other Jewish schools. My daughter will soon go into a Jewish immersion school, Baruch Hashem. This brings to my conclusion is that what does it mean to be Jewish? Okay? Now, you can be born ethnically, Semitically Jewish, and I explained about Semitic genes on your chromosomes. You inherit Semitic genealogy, literally, from your mother, hopefully your father, and grandparents and great-grandparents. My wife has Semitic ethnic Hebrew bloodlines going back, I would say, about 1,000 years. That's measurable. I have bloodlines in my Y chromosome, my father, that goes back all the way to Judah, Yehuda. There's the Y and J again, no J in Hebrew, but back in around 135 CE. Anyway, not germane. But what I'm pointing out, what does it mean to be Jewish? Is George Soros Jewish? Well, he says he was born Jewish, but what does that mean? Where does that go? How sustainable is that? Is Bernie Madoff Jewish? He was born Jewish, but he acts more like an anti-Semite. Zuckerberg, and there's many others out there. They're the worst kind of Yehudim on the planet. They are more anti-Semitic than some Arabs out there, okay? And not all Arabs hate Jewish people. They're friends to Jewish people. I heard about Saudi Arabia recently, and that's promising. But anyway, there are atheist Jews. There are Jews that are so orthodox that they don't even see the light of day outside of their comfort zone of their yeshiva or their Torah study or whatever, and they don't go out in the world, they don't teach the Torah out in the rest of the world, and they don't even think about no-hides, And then there's some Jews that are atheists, or not observant at all, and they allow the Holocaust to turn them completely away observant Judaism. By the way, Orthodox Judaism, it means correct doctrine. Judaism is a cultural statement, is a religious cultural statement that embodies both Semitic and ethnically born Yehudim, plus people that have converted over to Judaism. Yeah, even if you were not born of a Jewish mother, you can convert over with the proper instruction, the proper guidance to an Orthodox rabbi. Reform and conservative and Reconstruction allows conservative too, but their rules are like mud. And there's debate right now in the head rabbi about Jews, Aliyah, or immigrating to Israel, and they say they're Jewish, but they don't know they're Jewish. And there's been a lot of fraud with that. That's not germane. But I would just want to point out that if you find a Jewish person out there, and if you see him wear this hat and beard and everything else, listen, my ancestors were persecuted. Some of them were killed, and definitely my righteous wife's ancestors were murdered for looking like this. So I say in your face. But anyway, this is a traditional hat and everything else, To be Jewish means everything to me, but using operative language, Yehudim really gets back to the details. I mean, Pharaoh cursed the Hebrew slaves, right? We are Hebrews. I mean, we were a race, a proud race of nationalized Hebrews. No matter what country we were in, we were a race of Hebrews. It was on our passports, it was on birth certificate and things like that, and official documents and things like that. I mean, the Nazis targeted the Hebrews, and that's why we don't like talking about Hebrew race and everything else. But I hear interesting things happening now in the days of Mashiach. Orthodox rabbis are focusing on DNA tests. They're focusing on finding the lost tribes, and especially the Kohen and Levi, and finding them, priests of ancestors of Zadok and other cool things like that. They do this through technology and gene testing and all this stuff, okay? It is important that when someone converts into Judaism, like Ruth, the Moabite woman, she converted to Judaism. She became Jewish on behalf of her mother-in-law and her husband, who married a Jewish man, and her bloodline went into King David's dynasty, and his progeny. But anyway, I don't want to disrespect converted Jews, because they're just as important as Jewish, ethnically born Jews. In fact, if you convert, if you have the patience and the motivation to go through the entire year-long conversion track to be an Orthodox Jew as someone who's not born Jewish, you are just as Jewish as someone who's born Jewish, ethnically speaking, Semitically speaking. Isn't that wonderful? Let's get back to terms, folks, okay? We're growing the Jewish nation again. We're talking about Zionism, and a lot of people wonder what Zionism is. It has nothing to do with it is a political statement, but no more than saying I'm a patriotic American, okay? And I am. Zionists just love a country, love for nationalization of our country. I don't like the secular stuff. I wish we had more of a theocratic form of government. We will when the Mashiach comes here. But when you ask that quintessential question, what does it mean to be Jewish? It's more than what's on the outside, folks. It's what you do. It's what you are on the inside, and it's what carries on the outside and what people see in you. If people know your birth certificate says you were born Jewish, but you act like a Gentile, they're going to think that you're a Gentile. They're going to think you're hypocritical and a sellout. Anyway, get back to the terms, get off the English and Latin language bandwagon. Think about Yehudim, think about Yehudit, Yehudi, Yishuv. Think about these words. It's very important in the Hebrew language. There's no J's in Hebrew. Anyway, God love you. God bless you. Hope this has been a little bit informative with you. I hope that I'd like to say that I'm the inconvenient truth. There's always white elephants in the room. I'm not afraid to point them out. Okay? White is white and black is black, right? And that's what it comes down to. All right. Take care. God bless you.